Well, we've had a lovely stay in the Isle of Man. We love Douglas, it's a nice town, nice island, but we could have had a bit of better weather while we were here. It seems to be muggy and overcast most of the time, but when the evenings come about, we've had a couple of hours sun each day. Not too bad overall. Setting off, we have to get the boat out of the finger berth it's in, and the finger berths are on angles, so they're pointing the wrong way. So we walk it back a little bit to get a bit of movement on it, but then you need to swing the bow out. We're lucky here because there's no other boat in this berth with us. It's quite a narrow berth and it's either made for a cat or something like that. But we've been in there so we can get the bow to swing round. Come on, Lisa, get on. Well, we've walked it back just about as far as we can, and Lisa's at the end of the finger now, so she best get on. As soon as she's on, I'll pop her in reverse, and I might even give the bow thruster a little poke to help the bow start coming round. It's quite a mild morning, and there's not much wind, so there's not much to worry about as we're coming backwards, except anything that we're going to do. So we just take our time, let the bow bring itself round. A little buzz on my thruster helps a little bit. As soon as I think we're safe and we've cleared the finger, Lisa will jump into action and she'll go and get any of the odd ropes in that are lying round on the bow. Any of the fenders that we've not brought in as well, she'll go and get them. Well, we've cleared everything now, and if you look in the distance over there, you'll notice the swing bridge is down. Well, we've actually called them up to ask them to let us know when we're clear to go out, and they've actually called us and said they're going to raise the bridge now, so that we should start making our way down there. So we've got no rush as the bridge is still down at the moment, because it's got to stop the traffic and then it's got to raise for us to get through. The actual gate under the bridge is lower than a 10:17, and we think we're a little bit earlier than that, so they must have lowered it a little bit earlier. It's about 10:05 at the moment. If you look in the distance at the blue swing bridge, it's just about to start swinging upwards. You can actually see the angle of it changing now just at the top of my boom. I haven't noticed as yet that it started to move. I'm still too busy thinking about what I'm doing. Too busy getting the lines in and the fenders in, really. I'm still just plodding along, idle. And see, the bridge is well up and I still haven't noticed. Well, it's not well up yet, but it's, you know, it's well on its way up. Me and Lisa are just chatting between ourselves. So I'm really not got my eye on the ball, and I haven't spotted that bridge up just yet. Of course, the harbour master, he doesn't want that bridge remaining up for any longer than it needs to be, because he's got the traffic stopped. So in a second, when I actually pay attention and I notice the bridge, I put my foot down on the accelerator pedal. Now the bridge is up now, and I've just noticed it. So I stick my foot on top of my throttle, down it goes, and the boat will pick up its pace quite quickly now, and we'll fly through. And hopefully the people who are sitting there in the car queue won't be too upset at Swallow taking a time to get through the bridge. I've also done it the other way around at different times. I've got down here too quickly and found myself waiting for the bridge to lift up. So I might be 60 seconds or 120 seconds behind this one getting up, but I'm going to get through fairly sharpish. And I think I'm the only boat as well, so it can slam down behind me quite quick. So I don't think I'll have held people up for too long. You can see the traffic now. There's about half a dozen cars on the left and half a dozen cars on the right. Not too big a queue, I don't think. And I think that's the Harbour Patrol office on the right up there on the hill. So he's got a real good eye of the bridge and me going through it. I got to stay a little bit to starboard as I go through the bridge, with me worry, because the bridge doesn't go vertical, it still has a bit of a lean on, so you've got to stay away from it as you go through. But once you're through, it's then the outer harbour and then the Irish Sea. And talking about the Irish Sea, this is the course we actually need to travel to get back. But this is the course I'm actually going to take, and I'm going to take this course because of the direction of the wind, so we can still sail. It'll be a close reach with the wind on our port side for quite a bit of time until we get to about here. When we get to about here, hopefully it's going to be about 4 o'clock and we're going to have to change our direction then, and that will hopefully let us make use of the wind which was coming from this direction. Quick recap: southeasterlies to start with, followed by very light south-southeasterlies, followed by southwesterlies, and we're going to try and make a course through that on our way home. From the marina, which hides behind the blue bridge and the gate that comes up underwater to keep the water in, there's quite a long passageway of dock to take you to the outer harbour. That's mostly where the fishing boats tie up against the walls and use this sort of area. There's an odd couple of moorings for yachts inside it. Now, as you come into this outer harbour, to our port side, the left of the screen, is where the big shipping comes and goes from. So that's a concern for you as a small vessel. It's also the reason that you need to call the harbour up. The water in here is mostly quite good unless it's a northeasterly, and if you get a big northeasterly blowing in, it can bounce inside, but anything from the south normally keeps it quite sedate inside. So as soon as you're in, it's a bit of a haven, hiding behind that wall. And there's our lighthouse and our conspicuous buildings we see as we set off into what is a very slight sea with not much wind on it yet. Well, fingers crossed that our southeasterly slowly fills in a bit, because it's not here just yet, and we're still using that heading as if there's wind there, and maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should just be heading back if there's no wind. Well, we've started getting some power off it, so the wind's slowly starting to fill in now. All we need to do now is knock the engine off when it gets a little bit better, and better it gets. Well, at the moment, with the wind starting to fill in, we're blessed with a slight sea. Now, it is a spring tide, so it could be a little bit bumpier, but it's not. But the airs are still light. And we're near the bottom of the Isle of Man now. So basically, we're just about starting our voyage. And it's starting off on a nice footing by the looks of it. The sky is very grey, but it's more like haze, like a sun haze. I'm not saying it's hot, because I've got 400 layers on. It's probably around 10 degrees, 8, 9, 10 degrees Celsius. It's not hot at all. The air's quite cool out here. But if the sun breaks through, which I'm sure the sun's trying to break through, because when I look over towards where it actually is, the water's glistening a little bit, and the sun brightens the sky up whereabouts it's trying to shine through, but it just can't seem to get through at the moment. But I'm not out here for a tan at this particular point. I'm just happy at this point that the weather's doing exactly what it said. So if it does, well then maybe our plan will work out as we stretch through the day, and we'll get to change the tack later on about 4 o'clock. I think Swallow's flying. I think that's what she's doing. She looks like she's flying. Somebody round here, somebody, I'm not sure who, is very happy with the way it's panning out. Oh, it's me. This is about as close as angle as I actually like to get with Swallow. I do notice that she will go closer, but when she goes closer, she just seems to make a lot more leeway, and she doesn't make as good a headway. And I like to keep her when she's actually punching, because when she's punching, she feels a lot better. She feels a lot more solid in that groove. Well, if I don't mind saying so myself, their sails are set beautiful. And it's about time, after all the alterations I've had to do to make them do that. They're working, they're pulling the boat beautifully. I'm getting my 5 knots, and that's what makes me very happy indeed. And maybe just a little bit more. Only 50 miles to go now. Only 50 miles to go. That's 10 hours worth of sailing, that is. That's going to give us a big smile factor at the end of the day. Well, the Isle of Man's far enough away now that you can't see it anymore. It's disappeared in the background. And Swallow slips silently through the water. That's a lovely stern, that is. It's even starting to feel a little bit warmer now, and the sun seems to be breaking through a little bit better. Although the sky seems to be remaining grey, you seem to be getting a lot more silver on the water, like it's a much nicer day. Well, we've got about another 3 hours of this if it lasts, if the doldrums don't get us beforehand. So we keep our fingers crossed that this will go as long as it possibly can. Well, a few hours in now, and we're still blessed with slight seas, which is very good on the top of springs. So I'm very happy to sit on the coach roof and try and get what sunshine I can do. And it's a comfortable place. So I made a suggestion to Lisa. I said, why don't you join me on the coach roof and we'll have some lunch. So she's preparing a little bit of a finger buffet that we can have, sitting on the coach roof and enjoying this. Our scenery, a blade top and a flat bottom with a little bit of sunshine up there. Sometimes when you're in a good groove like this, the motion feels endless, like it will go forever and ever and ever. But we all know the weather's going to change and it's not going to take us all the way back like this. In fact, we're not even pointing back. We're pointing to the wrong side of Anglesey. But it doesn't matter, it's part of the plan. And lunch on the coach roof, well, that's an added bonus, isn't it? You can see that we're both still fully dressed up though. There's not much missing. I mightn't have my jacket on, but we've both got neckerchiefs on and we've both got a lot of clothing on to keep us warm. So although it looks like a hot, hazy, sunny day, it's probably only about 13-14 degrees at very best at this moment in time. But still, it was a really nice lunch we had, sitting out there for a good half hour, eating ourselves silly and having a little drink. But it doesn't last forever. What happened next? Yeah, you guessed it. The wind started to veer. The sails emptied. We were going straight into the wind. So we had to put the donkey back on and make some noise. But we expected a little bit of doldrums and we knew that it was going to go from southeasterly to southwesterly. And we've just got to keep on this course now until the southwesterly fills in. This is my life jacket. It looks like a gilet, but it's got these lovely hand warming pockets in here to keep you warm. And it's roughy tufty all the way round. So it's not just a life jacket. It's a warm device as well. It's got a pocket there and it's got a little stick some cash in a pocket here type thing. So it's quite useful. But one of the biggest things I find as a benefit from it is if you fall over, it's a bouncy jacket as well. Excellent. Okay, life jacket lesson over. The wind started filling in, but we're just about starting to get an angle that we can sail. So we're motor sailing it for a little bit until we can get the angle that we can let the engine disappear and we can get on with it. But what we are noticing is we're getting a lot more wind than we had this morning from the southwesterly than we got from the southeasterly. Well, it wasn't too long before the wind came round enough for us to get the motor off, and then she started slipping into it. But the waves started getting a little bit bigger and bouncier until something really strange happened. We're only an hour away from Linus now, so hopefully we'll start picking up a bit of the fast currents that'll swing us right round there and get us moving quickly. That's Linus there on the nose, on the right angle as well, as we fly up to it. You can almost forget about sailing when you're on a spring gear, as the tide picks you up so quickly and starts spinning you round. It's picked a fine time to come out, that sunshine, hasn't it? End of day. And there's even a bit of blue sky up there. A bit of sunshine, a bit of blue sky. We have to wait all day for it and go through all kinds to get there. But there you go. Linus Lighthouse, right on the nose. Some meteorologists would have a field day reading these skies. But what that means over there, God only knows. I couldn't work it out if I tried to. It changes every single direction you look at. No matter where you look, there's no pattern or rhyme or rhythm to it. It's just different sky everywhere. As we round Linus, I can't hold the wind anymore, so we're just on motor now all the way there. But we've only got a couple of miles and we're doing 8.5 knots with the motor and the tide. So we'll make this last little bit count. See if we can do it quickly. All the ships look quite happily anchored for the night, and that's what we want to be. Quite happily anchored for the night. Just down there, behind that spit of land that you see sticking out, there's a nice little anchorage, Mulvra. That one's sticking out over there. That's our heading now. There's actually quite a bit of wind here, and if we were going the other way it'd be nice sailing, but we're not. We just want to get round that corner and get tucked up. It's just about to go dark. It's nearing 8:30, I think, and it's probably dark by 9 o'clock at this moment in time, and especially if, with a bit of cloud, it seems to go dark a little bit earlier. We're not on our own, there's somebody else out here. That's the only other sailing boat we've seen all day. Well, we're virtually here now. Well, that's exactly 1.5 miles away. At least that's what the chart plotter says. Well, we arrive soon enough and drop that anchor, dig it in, and we're ready for a nice, relaxing night. Now the wind's still blowing quite a bit here. You wouldn't know it looking at the water because it's coming off the land, and that's why we're facing the land. But we need something to eat, something to drink, and get our heads down for a nice night. And then fresh tomorrow we can sail back and enjoy it in better conditions. Well, it's always really nice when you get up the next day and everything's nice and calm, and you're wondering whether you'll get enough wind to actually blow you home or not. But when it's coming off the land, you're a bit protected, so you don't actually know what you've got until you get a little bit further out to sea. So we'll have to get a little bit further out to sea. There were 2 boats already here when we got in last night, but this morning there's only one of them, and I don't think the other one's gone in the middle of the night, so he must have went last night, I should have imagined, more or less when we'd arrived. My windlass is still mechanical, so I have to stick the handle in and wind it back. As you can see, these 3 little red dots here, they indicate 30 metres I had out last night. Well, over 30 metres I had out last night. At the height of the high tide last night, it got up to 8 metres, so I had plenty of scope out for most of the night, and I had it out because it was blowing a bit. Here's my 20 metre mark there, them 2 red dots. Well, it's about this time before the anchor starts pulling up that I go and check and make sure that I've got everything just the way I want it, so that I don't drift off without any control. Because there's nothing worse than having to get stuff ready once you've started moving, when you've had plenty of time to do it while you weren't moving. To stop the sheets blowing in the wind, I end up winding a couple of extra turns around them. Well, that means they're not ready to go. I've got to get these turns off so that I feel like I can just let them go and yank one in whichever side I need to. That's the reefing line, that needs to be free as well. I best just check that Lisa's comfortable before we set off. You alright, sweet? Yeah, she's alright. She's got a book and she's comfy. Well, I'll turn my battery on for the engine and start the motor.
Just leaving that running in case I need it.
And I'm swigging me tea just before we set. Oh, it's cold. Get rid of that. We'll have to have another one when we're underway. And the motor's running now for a little insurance policy, that's all. Should anything go wrong when we're setting off. But really, I should just be able to sail off from here when we get the anchor up. That's when we get the anchor up, of course, and I don't wear my arm out in the meanwhile. That's the 10 metre mark there. So I've got 10 metres of chain to pull up now. I'm just tipping the mound of chain over in the anchor well so it doesn't bunch up. These 5 yellow cable ties here, they indicate my 5 metre mark. And that's normally the closest mark to when things are going to go right and wrong. It's going to pull the anchor out because you're normally in somewhere around about 5 metres. Well, we're actually only in about 2.2 metres of water here at the moment, and that's why all the chain seems to be coming up before the anchor breaks free. Well, here's the anchor now, and this is what I love about this place. Just look at the mud on that devil. You got to give it a bit of a bouncing to get it off. That lovely mud means you ain't dragging in the night, you're not going anywhere. It's an excellent holding hole if it's got a muddy anchor when you drag her up like that. Well, we're actually drifting now, aren't we? Because there's nothing attaching us to the ground. So a quick look round to make sure we're not moving quickly in any direction. And we get the rest of the anchor up. And here she comes, whee, into her chock. I have to leave it a little bit up because I have to shove the rope in on top of the chain. I do it that way round so that the weight's lower down. Although that it would have been a lot easier if I'd have stuck the chain on top of the wall. But there you go. This makes more sense to me. Ballast wise anyway. Once I've put the anchor lid down, I can finish bringing the anchor in because the chain will trap the lid down, and then I have to stick the pin on it there, keep it all in place. Right, well, now that we're adrift, I best get myself back down to the cockpit and take control of my boat before it decides to drift off in some direction that it doesn't want to really go in, or I don't really want it to go to. All as you got to do is work out where the wind is and then pull the sheet which actually corresponds. The sail will come out, a little bit of air will grab hold of it, you'll start moving, you'll start getting steerage, and you're away. Oh, look at me, I've got a knot in it. That's all my preparation down the pan, isn't it? A knot in my line. Well, I'll just make the sheath fast while I get on with, I've got 1.9 metres so I'm cool. Make the sheath fast while I undo this silly knot. Every time you turn your back, a rope decides to put a knot in itself. Right, that off, we can carry on with what we were doing a couple of seconds ago. Get that foresail out. As soon as she's out, she's feeling a bit of wind. As soon as she's feeling a bit of wind, she's pulling the boat. We ain't going to run aground, but we could hit a buoy or something like that. And I don't want to do anything like that. And we're miles away from the other boat that's in here. He's all the way over there. So, I think that's it. We're off. We've got steerage, we're slowly moving through the water, and she'll pick up from here. And lock down the jamming cleat on the furler as well, mustn't forget that. Everything's as it should be, except for all these knots. I'll have to do something to tidy me act up, I think. Well, believe it or not, we are starting to move. It's not showing any speed on the speedo, but you can see the depth's gone from 1.9 to 2.2 to 2.3, which means the boat's clawing itself to a bit more deeper water. I'm going to press the auto helm on now, and I can deal with whatever I want once the auto helm's on. Well, the next task is just to get the main out. So I'll just loosen up them clutches there, which are the control lines for the main, and check that the ratchet's set to free. And it's all ready to go. It's quite an easy main to put out. Like any other, just release the main sheet. And this one line here pulls the sail out, because it's obviously failed inside the mast. A lovely system, although a lot of people don't like it. I think it's a lazy system, and it certainly doesn't set as well as an ordinary main. But it's definitely convenient. And convenience goes a long way when you're a lazy sailor like me. Now, I'll just make this place ship shape now. In other words, shove all these lines in these holes. Here's my brave girl pulling faces in the window. She's a bit stiff this morning, but she's alright. She's got no broken bones, but she's got a lot of bruises, and she'll take a couple of days to recover, I'm sure. But it don't stop her smiling, so that's good. Just pop my windlass cover on to keep the weather off it, and we're away. That's about everything done. The sails are just starting to fill. The boat's definitely got a bit of way on it. I might even have some registered speed now, I don't know. And we've got good visibility. I can see all the way down there to Puffin Island. It's a proper bit of a tranquil morning this morning. And there's just a little bit of breeze coming off the land, enough to start picking us up. But again, we've timed this so that we're going to be going with the flood. So the tide will pick us up soon and add to our speed. And we're in no rush. We've got a whole day if we need it to get back. But we'll just see to where we carry. Bye bye, Mulvra. Well, 3.5 knots over the ground, 2.9 through the water. That's alright, depth's up to 6.3. We're away. We'll be home in no time at this rate. And before long, speed's up to 5.3. It's getting better and better. As we get a little bit further away from the land, the sea state stays very slight, and the wind picks up just a little bit. It's given us a good turn. We're on nearly 4 knots now through the water, which is quite good considering the air's still light. The sails are full and the boat's vertical. It's not heeling even a degree, but it's starting to make good motion. The current will be picking us up in a minute and we'll start doing very well, I'm sure. The telltales have hardly risen on the sail. That's how light the air is at the moment. So we'll just have to make the best of it. It's a proper lazy morning. Lazy all round. I mean, the telltales might have lifted just a little bit now and there's just a little bit more wind. I think the wind's slowly on the increase. And it might be on the increase all the way now, but we're actually starting to plough through the water a bit. 5.8 knots over the ground now. That's tide lift, don't forget, because we've only got 10 knots of wind on the beam. And we're making 4 knots through the water, so 10 knots has given us 4. I think that's alright, quite respectable to me, quite happy with that. And we're going to get somewhere. Now, what didn't I finish earlier? That's right, my panad. Get that kettle boiling and let's have a fresh cup of tea to make this trip enjoyable. Well, it's nice to enjoy a hot cuppa while watching the whale go by. Keep a check on everything, not much changing at the moment. And a silvery sunshine on the water ahead of us. And while I spend my time daydreaming, Puffin Island creeps up on us quite quickly. Always a welcome sight, because when you're passing Puffin, you actually feel like you're on the last stretch home. The tide's picked up quite a bit here, as has the wind, and our speed through the water and over the ground are both moved up a notch or two. We're flying along, one could say, at this particular moment, as we pass the island on our homeward stretch. There's a strange patch of water just behind the island that can always be a bit rough for reasons beyond me. But the wind is plentiful, and we're enjoying the sail now as we head towards Conway Fairway Boy. Lisa's reading a book and keeping an eye on me, as I drift around on the foredeck, just looking at the sails and the telltales and the water going by, and just generally enjoy the last of the run home from the Isle of Man. And there's even an odd couple of boats knocking round now for company. Great Orme in the distance there, and Puffin Island now lying in our wake. As without any effort whatsoever, and not feeling the pressure of the wind in any real way, Swallow just slips through the water putting the miles under a keel, one by one. Well, that's most definitely the Conway Fairway buoy, indicating that we're very much home, and it's actually in the correct place this time, and not by Penmamar, but marking the way to the channel. And there's Conway Mountains that we can see for miles and miles and miles. Well, that's Conway Perch, indicating that we're just about to enter the river itself, and the river will disappear at such a quick rate because the spring's running into it. Well, we took the mainsail away and we just rolled down the river on the foresail. We only need a bit of steerage. Well, we slipped down the river almost sideways with the speed of the water coming in. So as we made our way towards Bodlondeb, we started our motor and put our sail away. So we had some control to deal with this kind of current. We've called the marina up and they've given us the all clear to come in. We have to ferry glide over to the marina because of the incoming tides being so quick until we get to the gate where we can actually straighten up. Lisa gets the bow line ready and the stern line and gets ready to jump ashore for me when we get round to the finger. As we come round the corner in the marina, we see a boat coming out towards us. He quickly puts a manoeuvre in to the correct side so we can pass properly. I think Lisa's looking quite agile considering she had such a good bump yesterday and she's well bruised. But there you go, she's up for the challenge. Well, thanks for joining us on our trip back from the Isle of Man and our stopover on the way at Mulvera. We're back home now, so there's not much more else to say besides thanks very much for watching, as usual. I hope you've enjoyed. And if you're one of the 9 out of 10 who hasn't yet subscribed, considering it, it costs you absolutely nothing, and you'll get to know when I release another video. That is saying that you've enjoyed this one and you want to watch some more. Okay, until next time, from Swallow, me and Lisa, bon voyage.